My name is Keith Aleo, and I'm here with Mike Burritt, and Mike and I have known each other for 40 years, I think we figured out.
Even though we're still like around 25. It's a really strange anomaly, but yeah.
It's amazing.
It is, yeah.
So Mike is the professor of percussion at the Eastman School of Music, and I just wanted to sit down and chat with Mike about some things. How are you, Mike? We saw an amazing concert last night.
Thanks, man.
Want to tell us about that? Or?
Oh, it was fun. It was a great night. It was a great night for Eastman. A great night for my students, and certainly for me it was a special evening. Last night we premiered with 4 new works actually, and one by one of my students, Austin Keck, another one by a faculty member here, Matt Curley, and then the final 2, Billy Childs, the great jazz pianist, Grammy winner, and composer, wrote a piece for us, and then the Pulitzer Prize-winning legend Joseph Schwantner wrote a piece, his first ever piece for Percussion Chamber Ensemble, with me as soloist, which was a real honor, and a piece called Fast Forward. So real special night, and I thought the students came to play. Huh?
Yeah.
They were great, and it was just great having the composers here, having you here, Keith. Craigie Zildjian was here for that. It was really a special night, and I'm grateful to that. So super fun, and hopefully these pieces will be pieces that we use. It's always, when you commission pieces, it's always the hope, as you know, that it's not a one-time performance, and that it's a piece that'll make a contribution that'll be useful to our field. And I think these pieces will. I really do. So.
And the thing that was so striking to me was, and I mentioned this to you, is when the students walked on stage, the vibrancy and the enthusiasm and excitement they had for performing, and as just entering without even playing a note. And I mean, your studio is just so musically passionate about what they do. I mean, how do you bring that to the kids?
Yeah, I don't think it's something, and you know how it is. You're the same way. I think it's why we do what we do, right? We were just talking about that in the class you gave. How we do something that we love, and you and I, all of us that do it, we do it not for any other reason than it's a passion. It's like this itch we have to scratch, and I feel like the luckiest guy in the world that I get to do what I do. That I get to work with these great students, that I get to play music for my living. I get to teach music. I get to share my passion with them. So I think that those kind of things, it's like you impart that on them, not necessarily in any one way, but in everything you do every week of the year. Your enthusiasm for it. And I think also, like you know how this is, I think you recruit those kind of people, the kind of students that are totally in it in a really deep way, that have you can tell that they have the right kind of attitude, and also the attitude of sharing with each other and supporting each other. And I think for me as a teacher, I'm sure you resonate with this, I feel like my most important job, you bring all the artistic things you can, and of course all the pedagogical and practical information you can provide them. But I think more importantly is that you also provide and set up an environment that's one that's supportive. I always say you're going to come here and you're going to inspire each other. You're going to you're going to learn from each other, and you're going to, like you said today earlier in your class, you're going to go out in the field. You're going to know each other for a long time, and you're going to make those relationships here. You're never going to forget them. So yeah, and it's fun to see it happen. And it's always nice to hear someone like you who comes in and sees it and recognizes it, and that makes me really happy to see that. It was fun last night. It was fun to see them, because that first piece was Austin's piece, the student piece, and the beautiful thing was to see all of the students so excited for him in that moment, and so enthusiastic about the music. So
yeah. I mean, as a teacher, and it's more than a teacher. It's more than bringing an artistic value to the students, and a technical and artistic and everything else, but it's also the intangible, and that's what I saw. And tell me, how does it feel to take over for our teacher, John Beck? John Beck was here for...
Yeah, this is the room that you and I studied in, this room, right?
Right.
And many others that are great, of course, legends in the field, and our heroes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is my 14th year now at Eastman, so it feels normal now, you know. I always remember the day that John gave me the key. I almost felt guilty taking the key. After he gives me the key to the studio. I said, maybe I should find a new studio, and you should just keep the studio, you know. So, yeah, it's a very special thing, and it's like you say, use the word intangible. I don't even know that I can tangibly like describe how it feels to do that. You know, it's just. And it's one of those things you never dreamed it would happen, right? And so it's a huge honor, and but it feels fun. It never feels like a stress, you know. When I came to Eastman, I never felt the weight of it in any bad way, you know. It just felt like an honor and fun and a pleasure, you know. And JB also, who's still, you know, here a lot and comes in and visits and comes to the concerts, you know, just an amazingly supportive person. And a great example of how to retire and how to be a great class act and, you know, sort of elder statesman of the field. He's great in that way too. So it's super fun. One of my favorite stories actually was when my first year here. My son Zachary was still like, maybe he was like an 8th grader and taking percussion lessons. And JB insisted on teaching him. So I'm going to teach him. No, you know, I'll be his teacher. And I was like, what am I going to say? No. Yeah, of course. You know, here's my former teacher going to teach my son. So he said, the only thing I ask is I get to use your studio. I said, of course, you know, which was his studio, you know. So we had it set up that he would come in on a Thursday when we had studio class, because I was going to go to studio class and it would be after school for Zach, and Zach would meet him. So I always remember the first day. It was like early on in my time here. It was like my first month here, and Zach is outside the studio waiting with JB outside my studio, which had been JB's. I walk in, oh, thanks, Mike, great. And he walks in, and I turn and look, and here I am walking out of what is now my teaching studio, and watching my former teacher, John Beck, walk in with my son to teach him. It was too many things at once, but it was such a great, powerful, special moment. You know, that was kind of one of those times where it's poignant for you. So, but yeah, it's great, and Eastman's a great place to work and teach because of the students and the faculty and the community. So, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, you know, the history is just really incredible. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's the 100th anniversary.
Centennial of Eastman, yeah, and that's part of the reason we had those commissions last night and celebrating the centennial. The one commission, the Billy Childs Commission, was in honor of Nexus, and the Schwantner Commission was something the school wanted to do, and Joe wanted to write a piece. The cool thing about that is Joe wanted to write a piece. They asked him initially, hey, would you write a piece for percussion concerto with a wind ensemble? And he said, no, I want to write a piece for Michael with percussion ensemble. I want to write a piece for chamber percussion ensemble. That was his idea. So that was super cool, you know, to know that his passion was, no, I need to write a piece for this genre. And so, yeah, and hopefully a lot of people are going to play that piece, you know, in the future. So.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, when you look at the history of Eastman, you also see this very, very diverse contingency of alumni. Mm-hmm. Everywhere I go, I meet alumni that are from Eastman, but you meet them in all genres. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is incredible. Do you have connections with the alumni? And, you know, yeah, of course you do. I mean, just tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you, right? Yeah, I you know, just one of my goals this year, or one of the things I wanted to do, you know, was to, in a way of celebrating the centennial for us in the percussion studio, was to bring back alumni consistently. And so, if you take this semester alone, we had a really wonderful concert and master class with Lee Howard Stevens came in, you know, who's amazing. Legendary alum, you know, who studied in this room, who, you know, he's done, I mean, how many things can he do? He people are using his grip now universally, right? You know, and wrote books and designed instruments and, you know, all the things, his contribution. Then we had Joseph Tompkins, you know, who studied here. So Lee studied here in the 70s, Joe studied here, I think, late 80s, early 90s. And, you know, here's another guy that comes in here and studies, goes out in the world and makes a huge impact. He writes, you know, who would have thought, like in 2007, that you could write a snare drum book that would completely, you know, reimagine the language of snare drum playing, right? So here's this guy, another Eastman grad, and my gosh, you know, everyone uses the Tompkins books. They're like using Delacluse now or something, right? Everyone uses the Tompkins books. So
French-American, that concept I've never heard of before.
I remember the first time I heard the first Tompkins solo. It was like one of my students, Alan Stewart, who's now in the St. Louis Symphony, played it for me. Like back in these, he played Tompkins 1, and he played it for me, and I said, okay, you're gonna have to play that again because I'm like, what's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah. So as an example, he comes in, he did all this, Then we had a duo here, Escape 10, Annie Stevens and Andrew Vinay, who were graduates. They studied with me during my time here in the early 2000s and doing great work and commissioning great pieces. And they played a concert, and now you're here giving this great class on cymbals and talking about the Zildjian legacy and all of you've done as an educator and as a performer and also an author, all the different contributions you made. And what's great for the students is to see from within our field the different ways people have gone out and kind of put their tentacles out there in those roots, And there's, we can go on and on about that because you got obviously the legends like the Steve Gadds of the world, and even before. When you think about the Eastman legacy, and some of the students don't even know these names. I mentioned Fred Hinger, the famous timpanist and percussionist who played in Philadelphia, and the Met, right? And then you have Alan Abel, who was here, and Mitchell Peters, who was here back then, and of course John Beck in those days. And you move up into like the Bill Kahns and the Bob Beckers and Gordon Stout and Chris Lamb. And, it's like it's exhausting. So I'm tired now. If you're just talking about but it's it's special. And it's special because it's like orchestral players and drum set players and contemporary musicians and composers and and that's the beauty of it. I think that's I don't know, for me, and that's the goal of at least my philosophy as a pedagogue is a pedagogue that I always tell my students, I want you to eat your pie backwards. So that you're thinking this way at first. You're going to learn a lot of different things. We're going to focus in a broad way. I'm going to try to make you into great musicians because that's what you need to be. You happen to play percussion, but you're a musician. I'm going to start at the back of the pie, and as you get into your pie, you're going to get to know yourself better, both as a person and what you like and what you're good at. And those things will come together, and then you get to the front of your pie. You can't start at the front of the pie. You learn all those things, and I think the nature of the school is that way. The nature of the school is we want you to learn to be complete musicians. We want you to, sample and experience a lot of things because it's going to change you. And ultimately, that's what happens. You put out all these different kind of people into the world, So,
I mean, I think that is something that really resonates with me and a lot of people. When you come to Eastman, when you look at the graduate students, the students that have graduated, you see that diversification of careers and that is really I find to be unique to Eastman.
I think it is unique. I mean, there's a lot of great schools, as we know. There's the Juilliards and the Curtises and the Michigans and we can go on, NEC and of course, and all those schools have also tremendous legacies. And as my friend would say, comparisons are odious, right? So, but I feel proud of ours. I feel proud of and I think that attracted me as a student to come here. My father was a music educator, and I grew up listening to Eastman Wind Ensemble albums like in the 70s in my house. We had these records, and then I got to know about the jazz program. Then I went to a Lee Stevens clinic when I was like in 10th grade, and, heard Steve Gadd play in Syracuse when I was, and you start to see all these different things, and you think, man, percussion seemed like this really cool big laboratory, and it seemed like all the important stuff was happening here. So I have to go there. You know what I mean? And that attracted me, and that's what I like. That's what I like about it. And that's kind of just I'm hoping to sustain that concept or that idea, that principle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because that's exactly what attracted me. And I saw John Beck give a class, and I was like, I have to go to Eastman. And, So also the legacy of the Zildjian Company, and we're coming up on our 400th anniversary, which is really exciting. And you've been with Zildjian,
for a long time. Yeah. I'm trying to think. It's probably 35 years. Well, in the 30s now. Even though again, like we're still in our 20s, but we've been with the company for 30 years. I mean. It's a joke. Remember that's the slogan. The only serious choice. I mean, for me, I grew up. Zildjian was the only cymbal I knew as a kid. I was a little kid in Syracuse, and I was kind of a drummer at first, more than anything else. And I remember someone brought me some other kind of cymbals, and my dad would buy my first drum set. These don't sound very good. And then we go to this music store, and I heard the Zildjian cymbals. And I was a little kid. I was like, I want these. I didn't know anything. I thought, these sound better. Okay. And plus, I think I'd seen catalogs, and I watch. Watch a TV show, you see all these guys on TV have Zildjian cymbals. I got to have, So, I don't know. They say what comes to you. What is it? What was it? the donkey or the cart, or what is that analogy? Is that the right one? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's not
which comes first? The
first.
horse?
Is it the,
Yeah,
oh, it's the horse, not
or
the donkey. I don't know how I went to donkey. Right? That's probably not a great. But anyway, horse or the
So the
cart.
car-
Yeah, the
yeah.
donkey's kind of a low. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. In other words, what I mean by that is, did you know? I mean, maybe it's a combination. Either my ears and my intuitive musical instincts attracted me to the Zildjian sound, or because that's what I knew and because I wanted to use that. That's the sound I know. That's the sound I want. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it's been for me forever. You know. So, and what's been fun for me to watch with the company is both the impact that you have brought and in the last 20 years or so to see the menu of cymbals that they have in the orchestral line alone. Just looking at from the K. The Ks to the Constantinoples to the classic orchestral, the A's, and on and on, and the different sounds you can get. It's amazing, and that's grown a lot. I have to say under your leadership, and I think that's phenomenal. And all those sounds are sounds I'm very attracted to. Suspended cymbal sounds. What's the effects cymbal I used last night?
Yeah,
I love those
last night.
sounds, man. And I wanted that Z crash, the short crash. It's fun. It's like this huge laboratory of sounds. So like last night's piece on Joe Schwantner's piece asked for 3 cymbals, and of course like two separate octaves of crotales. So I was surrounded by Zildjian, right?
Yeah.
But it was fun to pick, to try to find 3 distinct sounds for that piece, for that little trio of cymbals that he asked for. And the first one I picked was the effects cymbal. I knew that would be funky. Then I had this kind of cool, it was like a 17-inch dark crash or something, that I liked for my drum set that I love. It was a K dark, kind of thing. And then we had this old cymbal here that I think still says Avitas on it, carved in from probably, who knows, could have been here from the 50s, because we have cymbals from that had a special sort of, a more distinct color, probably a little more highs in it, And the 3 of those together was like, yes, this is it, Right. And then I added a cymbal because there's some spots in there that are kind of, you want these little short, bam, they just hits. And those cymbals were more resonant and colorful. I needed something that was more just short and to the point and kind of had that little funky, grungy sound. And that cymbal just provided is perfect. And even Joe Schwantner goes, I love this cymbal. So,
That's great.
It was fun, and, and even with the crotale, it was interesting enough. I don't think I told you this. I have this set of crotales I've had since the 90s that I used with my vibraphone setup that I like. There's this really great shimmer to them, And then we had this set that we've had up in one of our rehearsal spaces, the East Wing, that I used over by the drums and the marimba over there for a different part of the piece. Because in that one, most of the time I'm playing very fast crotale passages, and they had a beautiful shimmer, but they're a little more focused, a little more direct on the attack. And these older ones were they had a little more shimmer. And because of the nature of what I was playing in that part of the piece, with the vibraphone, it was colorful. It was a little more it's like a Debussy section, a little more impressionistic. That set of crotales seemed like the right sound for that part of the piece, and that set of crotales were the right sound for the other part of the piece. And it's interesting. I don't think it's probably the first time in my life where I've ever thought about my crotale sounds and how they would matter in a piece of music. Usually you just have a set of crotales, you use them. I'm blessed to have a lot of crotales around. So, anyways, it's kind of fun in that way. So, but yeah.
I mean, the uniqueness of cymbals. We try to make every cymbal, as close as possible to the sound that it's defined as, but it's an organic product.
That's the
it's
beauty
an
of it,
instrument,
though,
right? Every single cymbal and every single crotale and every sound that we make has a uniqueness, and it brings that. And that's your, that's your...
Brings your, like you would say, your fingerprint.
Yeah,
right, exactly,
right.
yeah.
That's your, and that makes it your solo and your piece, because that's your interpretation, and that's how you hear it, isn't it? That's wonderful. The concert last night was, stellar. I don't know how to...
Thanks for saying that. It was fun. It was fun. The students played, yeah.
Well, yeah.
They always make you look good,
Yeah, and while you were doing the cadenza, it was a moment that was just really special. I was watching them watch you.
Oh, it was fun. That's
Yeah.
nice to hear. I mean, I don't get to see them watching me, but it's probably good. I'd get more nervous. I was thinking about that. It's like,
And I mean, you could just see the admiration and just how they just love what you were doing, and they were smiling, and
Yeah, they were
and
very
they were just
supportive. Yeah.
engaged in what you were doing and soaking it all in, and that was a really special moment.
oh, thanks for mentioning that. It's nice to hear. My wife was mentioning that to me. Several others have said that
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, which it's very nice to hear that. And it's very, because you invest a lot in them. I think, I mean, that you're a teacher, and I know that you and I are from the same ilk. It's like your students become a part of your life in a big important way. And I think, I think they know that I would go to the mat for them. And the nice thing is I feel like they would go to the mat for me, and that's cool. And when you're up there together on the stage, that's a special moment that not a lot of people get to share together. You and I have shared it together on several occasions. It's been a while though, but we've been on stage together and performed together, and there's something about that experience. And when you're up there with your students playing, those are my favorite moments, man. When you're doing it with them, it's so great. And so that whole mutual, like, we're in it together feeling, and I think it's also good because the human factor of it, right? You play concerts, you're not always perfect. You're doing your best you can.
Right.
And I think it's important for them to see, like, the reality of what it is. The most important thing is I'm going to bring as much integrity as you can to what you do, and you're going to work hard. And I think that also helps them to sort of have their own perspective on things too.
Right.
So,
You're struggling with the same things they're struggling
Right.
with.
We're all in
you have a
this-
lot more experience, but we get nervous too as
Yeah.
performers. We think one passage may not go as well as we
exactly.
want. We're human, and I think that sort of they realize, wow, it's the same.
yeah.
And that's.
I remember
really
being a
great.
student, seeing that for the first time, understanding that was a great relief to me.
Yeah.
To
that's
know, because I
right.
think you grow up thinking like you're going to, once I get to a certain point, I will
It's
have it all
every
figured out.
figured out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's like, yeah, of course, we have it figured out. Don't tell anybody. No, but what you figure out is like our friend Anders Ostrom would say, you get comfortable in your own shoes.
Right.
You who of course would like shoes. Hey, what do you think? Yeah, come on, because it's gonna go. Yeah, they both had the wingtips going
Yeah,
here. I know you think yours are better, but anyway,
I do.
I understand. These are more me.
Mike
than
and I
me.
compete with the
Shoe
with the
things,
shoes.
Yeah. So, anyways, but I think that's what happens. Is you know who you are. You're always trying to challenge yourself and stretch whether it be in your teaching or you're performing or whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
You're composing, you're writing. But you're also comfortable, like, who you are. This is who I am. This is what I do well, and I'm going to try and do it well. And you relax about it more a little bit. It doesn't mean you lower your standards. You don't care any less. If anything, maybe you care more. But you understand what it is in a maybe bigger way because we have more time to figure it out. So
Right.
and so.
Yeah, it's just really a matter of experience.
Yeah.
You're probably a little better at getting out of a mistake. I
But
got it.
Another thing is too, like, mistakes are so little things. Like, people don't notice mistakes, and also about, like, performing is I think the most important thing that I try and do impart to them is performing isn't about, we're not making, like, and this is also a dated word, we're not making a Xerox copy of something. Like, here's the right way, here's the performance, perfect. Because there is not a perfect performance anywhere, but there are really impactful, meaningful performances, and those are the ones that hit you. Even Schwantner was saying, like, he went and heard I forget what pianist, a famous pianist, play a Mozart concerto maybe a while ago, and he said, and it wasn't a great performance of the Mozart concerto. He could tell you got lost, but he's so musical, he got around it. He wouldn't even, and the place went nuts, gave him a standing ovation. And he said that's just because that's a great musician, and that's what happens on stage. Right. And it's about so it was interesting to hear that So, but it's fun. So I think the most important thing is the energy of the music. You bring integrity to it, and you lay it all out there. And I think hopefully I think they see that, and I also think they do that, which is fun for me to watch. They just let's go, which is fun. Yeah. So I'm glad you were here to see it too. I appreciate that.
It's great. And the thing is, what is our mission as our goal? Is our goal to play a perfect performance?
Yeah.
I don't see that as my goal. My goal is to connect with my listener on some level, in some way, to inspire them and to bring an emotion and a connection. Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
Yeah.
If I miss a note, does that mean I did? Or and that's what I was so touched with last night.
Yeah, I'm glad
I
you
mean,
did.
your guys were engaged.
Yeah.
Engaged, and they were not scared.
No,
They were not
no,
scared.
you can't be scared.
You
You just
can't
got to
be.
go out and let it
You
go.
get-
You got to let
right,
it rip, you know?
right,
Like
right.
our friend Doug Perkins would say, you got to rip it and grip it. Oh, maybe no, grip it and rip it. I think I can get it back. Well, yeah.
So, now where do we go from here? After last night, I mean, it hasn't even been 24 hours.
I'm going to bed tonight. I told my wife this weekend we're going to chill out.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun. That's how life is, right? Because you have big moments and you have big concerts and you premiere big pieces, and you get done with that and you think, oh, this will be great. So, but you know what? You get that itch again, right?
I
and
know.
then the next thing comes up, and I want to get this done. Like you, I got things like for me, I got a class in Boston in 2 weeks, and I got a tour in California, a bunch of concerts, different music. Got to get ready for that, and but that's fun. I'm excited to do that. It'll be great to but take some time, chill, get back up. Let's go on to the next thing and keep going, and yeah, that's what makes it fun. Yeah, that makes it fun.
Do you have anything special? Is this the kind of the end of the 100th anniversary, or is there?
I mean, the school has some other things happening that I'm not necessarily engaged. We've done a lot this year. We had a concert in the fall with the percussion ensemble and the saxophone group here it's called ESP, the Eastman Saxophone Project. It's cool. It's a really outstanding saxophone group. I mean, really, if you heard the saxophone ensemble, it's unbelievable. We shared a concert with them and with the Garth Fagan Dance Company here, which is a very famous dance company.
I heard you mention this.
Yeah, Garth Fagan he's the guy that actually did all the choreography for Lion King. And so they're from Rochester, and they were celebrating their 50th anniversary, and we're doing 100th. So we did this collaborative concert where percussion ensemble played and some stuff, and then the saxophone project played, and then we did a big piece together by Eastman alum Baljinder Sikhan. I'm sure you know Baljinder's music.
Yes, I know him.
We had a big piece for us for like 6 percussion, and it was like 19 saxophones, and the dancers, and that was a really cool piece we did in the falls. It was one of the first moments of celebration that we had. I did a recital in September that had some commissions on it, one by John Zothas that I did. So. Yeah, I'm tired now. So those guys, but it's been a great year.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of other things. They did
That's great.
Other great performances of other pieces. Augusta Reed Thomas piece that the New Music Group did a few weeks ago, and other things. So I know that Maria Schneider, the great composer, jazz musician, is coming in a few weeks to do a big concert too. So it's fun. It's great for the great thing about it is it's great for the students to see all this and to be a part of it, and they'll remember it, forever. I think so. Yeah, that's the cool thing. So,
well, it's so wonderful to sit here in your office.
For our studio, man, this is where it was, right? Yeah,
new
carpet. We got some new blinds. Yeah.
It's really a special moment to be back at the school. I walked into the main hall, and a lot of memories came back, and this room in particular is a lot of memories.
Totally.
And
totally.
I wrote, it feels like I'm coming home.
That's good to hear.
In a lot of ways. And, I feel that way about a lot of the places. Interlochen, it
of
feels like
course.
home to me. And Eastman does too. And, it's really wonderful. So thank you for taking the time to sit with us and chat with us.
My pleasure.
About your history here and your contribution to the legacy of the percussion department at the Eastman School of Music.
No, thank you. I appreciate you guys being here and all this time together. It's great. It's great. So.
Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Cheers.